Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Shiite leader Ibrahim El-Zakzaki claims in a new video that he's on his way back to Nigeria from India, where he and his wife Zinat had gone for medical treatment. EFCC moves to investigate head of service of the Federation, Mrs. Winifred Oyoita, over alleged 3 billion naira contract scam, abuse of toll duty allowance, money laundering, amongst others. House of Representatives Committee blames slow operations in Nigerian ports on multiple charges, inadequate security, and lack of synergy amongst relevant agencies. And Israel bars 2 U.S. Democratic lawmakers from visiting for allegedly supporting the boycott movement against the country. For more information on our top stories and others, just go to our website, channelstv.com. YouTube.com/channelsweb has videos of all our shows. And here are some of those stories that you sent in. And let's begin with this video from Lagos-Benin Expressway showing people who Eyewitness Reports says are stranded passengers who have been reported to have pulled over as a result of a robbery operation around the Ogbemudia farms. He laments that the operation went on for more than 30 minutes with no response from security operatives and is calling for a better security, especially on the highways. Next is this image from the Delta State capital, Asaba. Our Eyewitness reporter is showing the River Niger Bridge connecting the east and is concerned about the expansion joint, which is in bad shape, and has asked that something be done, and quickly too. And back here in Lagos is our last picture from the Ijesha-Surulere area of the state, especially Duru Oyedoyin. It is the image of a flooded street, which our Eyewitness reporter says is what the area looks like anytime it rains. He laments the pain residents go through and calls for help of the state government. Thank you so much for sending in those images, and we do encourage you to keep them coming. The federal government is looking at more strategic ways to improve access to electricity supply from the current arrangement. According to the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, he mentioned this during the inauguration of some transmission project in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. Professor Osinbajo says several policies are in place to open the electricity market space to more investors. Our correspondent, Olu Phillips, has the rest of the story.
The federal government appears seriously committed to electricity supply improvement drive. The Vice President and the company of the Ogun State Governor are joined by dignitaries to the unveiling of a transmission project here in Abeokuta.
Also joining His Excellency the Vice President.
These wires you see flying all around this vicinity are transmission cables traveling over 70 kilometers from Ota and energized by these transformers, which will serve to bring more power to homes and businesses in and around Abeokuta.
Our delight is derived from the fact that this project will be a boost to administration's building our future together agenda. As a government, we are irrevocably committed to providing focused and qualitative governance that will create an enabling environment for a public-private sector partnership, which we believe is fundamental to the creation of an enduring economic development and individual prosperity of the people of Ogun State.
The entire substation and transmission lines that you see here was done by passionate and highly skilled Nigerian engineers from start to finish.
The power value chain means all aspects have to improve simultaneously to improve electricity access. The Vice President outlines government's thinking and plan.
It's evident that the structure of the market today cannot deliver on the government's promises for power for domestic and industrial use. A substantial change of strategy is necessary. At the heart of that strategy is, first of all, as you've heard, the recapitalization of the discos. The discos we have to simply come up with more resources. There must be independent power suppliers, and this is why we have all these regulations for microgrid, we have all these other regulations for other willing buyer, willing seller arrangements. And that is the way by which we can go forward and ensure that we're able to serve many of the unserved, the underserved communities today.
All the way from Ayobo, so we can now win more power. Before, maximum of 70 megawatts, now up to 250 megawatts to Abeokuta.
Now we have the capacity to break that line and feed from here. So we feed back into Abeokuta, feed back to, and they can now begin to swim in electricity.
This project brings to over 30 of such intervention in the transmission endeavor. What will always matter the most to electricity consumers, however, is an accelerated corresponding uninterrupted power supply from all these KV and KVAs. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Police authorities in Lagos have arrested a woman identified as Onyinye Madike, seen in a viral video detaining a boy in a dog cage. In the video, Onyinye is seen assaulting the boy after flogging him with a belt before locking him up in the dog cage. The Lagos State Police spokesperson, Bala Elkanah, says the arrest is in reaction to the viral video and that the woman has admitted to being the one in the clip. But she denied locking the boy in the cage with dogs and that she only locked him in an empty cage where bags are kept. She claimed that the boy took a drink in her refrigerator and then smashed the side mirror of a car with a stone, which made her detain him in the cage. The police also confirmed that the suspect's mother is the elder sister of the boy's father, who died in 2012. The police say the suspect will be charged to court. And let's move over to our Abuja studios, where Markwe is standing by with more stories. Hello, Markwe.
Hello, Melinda. Some rather disturbing clips there. But let's start with this one from the airport. The President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, is insisting that the 9th National Assembly is prepared to pass the 2020 budget by December 2019. Senator Lawan is asking the executive to present the budget early for the planned December budget to be possible. He was speaking today at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, shortly after his return from pilgrimage to Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Senator Lawan explains that with the constitution of the relevant committees in the Senate and the House of Representatives, the 9th National Assembly is now more prepared and ready to work for the benefit of Nigerians.
The 9th National Assembly has been properly constituted, especially with our committees in place. We are ready, we are willing, we are capable, we are enhanced to work as an institution to ensure that we provide those ingredients, those inputs that the executive would want for it to implement and execute laudable and noble projects to develop the country. So we are ready, and I want to take this opportunity to appeal to the executive side of government that we need to reverse the undesirable trend of the current budget cycle in Nigeria. We need to work for a budget that will be passed by the National Assembly by December. And that requires that we work assiduously together with the executive arm of government to have the budget laid before the National Assembly at the end of September, and for the National Assembly to lock up the whole of October of this year by the grace of God for budget defense, and then process the budget and pass it before we go on Christmas break. This is doable, it's achievable, it's attainable, and it's feasible.
Now, authorities at the National Youth Service Corps have disclosed that anyone who is involved in the presentation of fake results and certificates for enrollment into the NYSC scheme will face a minimum of a 2-year jail term. The Director General of the scheme, Brigadier General Shuaibu Ibrahim, said this as he laments the rising record of fake corps members. in the one-year compulsory scheme. He also warns that the NYSC will not hesitate to blacklist any core-producing institutions who engage in the presentation of unqualified persons for mobilization into the program. And more than 4.6 million Nigerians have participated in the National Youth Service Corps scheme since inception in 1973. And looking at security matters, 3 soldiers have been reported killed in an encounter between insurgents and the military on Wednesday night in Mamanti, a deserted village near Maiduguri. Military sources say the insurgents came in large numbers and were on their way to attack Molai, a settlement barely 2 kilometers away from the capital city. Our residents say they heard explosions in the dead of the night, which made them panic. But soldiers around Mamanti, who had been on red alert, faced the assailants squarely, foiling their plans to infiltrate Molai village. The gun battle, which began at about 10 p.m., lasted till 2:30 a.m. when the last gun was shot. It's not clear how many casualties were recorded on the side of the insurgents, but military sources confirmed that 3 soldiers were killed in the battle. Now, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, the NUJ, in collaboration with Media Foundation for West Africa, is seeking a stronger collaboration with the police in order to guarantee protection of journalists. The national president of the NUJ, as well as other media practitioners, condemned the killing and brutalization of journalists who are carrying out their legitimate assignments. Now, based on the statistics from the Committee to Protect Journalists as a CPJ, at least 11 reporters and video journalists have been killed in Nigeria between 1992 and 2009.
Journalism, which is also called the fourth estate of the realm, plays a critical role in nations building. Its contribution to Nigeria's independence in 1960 and the attainment of democracy in 1999 cannot be ignored. However, many journalists have paid the ultimate price in the line of duty. In some cases, they are caught in between violent protesters or criminals. Efforts to guarantee the protection of journalists is one of the reasons why media practitioners are having this roundtable in Abuja. Participants are advocating the need for a strong collaboration with the police to reduce intimidation and guarantee the protection of journalists on crisis-prone beats.
The purposes of this framework is to serve as a guide for building good relationships, for building cooperation, and for building mutual understanding and mutual respect between media and the police force and personnel of the police in this country. The problem of the relations between the media on the ground and the police on the ground is not from the IGP or Commissioner Mba and so on. It's the problem of the constable, the sergeant, the corporal, or the roadblock on the streets, the personnel that are supposed to manage demonstrations.
Apart from the issues of protection, participants also want insurance for journalists.
There must be an understanding that there are rules of engagement on both sides, and that stakeholders who are involved in various oversight situations must factor these rules of engagement, which for now are vacuous.
We have a good number of our people that die in accidents in the course of their job. They follow governors in convoy, there will be accidents and people die. The governor will just visit the family and disappear. Nothing happens. No, now what is left for the family? That's why we say this insurance program is very, very important.
According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, at least 11 journalists have been killed in Nigeria since 1992. 7 were murdered with impunity, while 8 were targeted for murder.
When the News at 10 returns, Nigeria records 5.6% volume of trade in total imports from other African countries in the last 10 years. That's some business news. And Israel bars 2 U.S. Democratic lawmakers from visiting the country. That's coming from our London bureaus around the world in 5. Do join us again.